Awesome. Well, first of all, good afternoon and congratulations on the bundle of joy.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it.
I'm diving deep behind your shoulder to see what pops you got there. I can only
Oh,
Batman.
I got Batman. I got a whole black section, which is Mars Morales, Notorious B.I.G., Zach, White Ranger, LeBron James, Finn Balor, um, Marty McFly, and a bunch of Batmans. I try to collect as bunch of Batmans as behind me as possible.
Yeah, Batman. I had a critical thinking question I ask people all the time is who could win a fight between Batman and Superman? And if you answer Superman, I know you're not smart.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, first of all, comic book lore, he literally has the weakness of he built a suit out of kryptonite.
Yep. So and we've seen the fight. We've seen it.
Yes,
Batman
we've
wins.
seen it. Yeah, I don't understand who would answer Superman. That's a great critical thinking question to judge people's thought parameter for sure.
I asked prospective nannies, so it wasn't. Ask.
Well, that's an actually great way to start. Being the first family of AEW and not even AEW of wrestling, you guys have had cameras following you consistently throughout your careers, but you had cameras following through your pregnancy. So I want to ask both of you, how was that, Brandy and Cody? How was that being able to, support her and having cameras in your face and just doing this whole process?
The cameras during my pregnancy were both a good and bad thing, because I just told myself, this is my one chance to be as big of a jerk as humanly possible. And who better to take it out on, all of my pregnancy pains and discomfort, than the showrunner. So Sam, our showrunner, caught it from me consistently. And I think he's got a child. So I think he knew what was happening and what was going on, that he was just being abused a little bit, and he let it happen. So we both were, we were on the same wavelength there.
Well, they tell you like, hey, you're a producer on this show. So you think, I got him. I'm a producer. I don't know if you heard, I'm a producer. To the reality team, that means nothing. That they're why you're saying, hey, I'm a producer. There's somebody filming you from the back of your head with a directional mic. That was their job. And I never once begrudged them for doing their job. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you're definitely getting the most unprecedented look behind the scenes in wrestling ever, which will excite a lot of people. People will learn some new stuff, but it's also a little scary to see the curtain peeled back so much, but they certainly did. Roads to the Top is in depth at our lives and our careers.
Having a chance to see the first episode, I could definitely agree to that and attest to that, being a diehard wrestling fan. And I mean, we've seen other reality shows with wrestling that has a little bit to it, but I felt like this was we're getting a really glimpse of especially young talent behind the scenes. We have, Jade Cargill, we have Sammy, Tin, Darby, the list goes on. How does it feel to have these amazing wrestlers being, shown outside of the wrestling ring such at a young time? I mean, the conversation that you had with Darby, as we seen the match unfold as wrestling fans, but just seeing it behind the scene right before it happened, it was such it gave me goosebumps watching it, really.
It kind of gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because today the theme has been, a lot of the people have been excited about seeing some of the younger stars. And although what people see on screen with AEW directly, I think there's a Cody they imagine and then the Cody behind the scenes. And really what my job is to put other talent over. And that includes being tethered to the Tins, the Ricky Starks, the Darby Allens, the Jades, the Velvets, whether they like it or not. I always have their best interest in mind. Lee Johnson. I mean, just that is more my job than anything. And that's very hard as a wrestler to accept and step out and go, hey, it's not about me here. It's going to be about them in 2 years and 3 years. And seeing that happen and Tony book it where our future is getting the spotlight, that's huge. That's ultimately what wrestling's supposed to do. Just keep it fresh.
And I guess it's really to both of you guys. So it's a saying in music, right? You don't sign to an artist, because an artist will at the end of the day, they are artists, and they would think about artists not really managing a label. And you guys are technically artists, you know, the EVPs of AEW, and you have all these amazing wrestlers signed under you, but somehow, you know, Brandy, Cody, you guys have managed to make these stars like bigger than taking a step back and making them, you know, bigger than yourself. They're on TV more than you are, Cody. They're on TV more than you are, Brandy. What do you accredit that to? Like, what was that process of not only saying, hey, I'm going to take a step back, but B, I'm also going to present these guys on AEW, but also on Rhodes to the Top?
You know, it's a delicate balance and thing with me. And one thing for me personally is, it's been very hard to have to, I didn't get afforded to take a step back. I had to take a step back. One thing I remember in finding out that I was pregnant, which was a wonderful thing to find out, but it was at the peak, very beginning of a very important matchup that was going to happen in AEW involving Shaq. One thing that was said to me was, we can wait. This match can wait until you're back. And it was very important to me that the match press on, with or without me. It needs to happen. And this is an opportunity for someone else to get in there and show everybody what they can do. So it's the stories like that you don't hear, you know, that I gave up an opportunity. I would have something great to come back to right now, you know, like, hey, you know, a major thing to return to wrestle Shaq and you know, Jade. But instead, Red Velvet got to wrestle that because I said, let's do this. And I think that it should be Red Velvet. And I think she's got what it takes. And then she showed us that. And then from there, you're seeing her in the main event of Rampage, an amazing show that's just started to premiere here. And, you know, that is what it should be. Sometimes you do have to look outside of yourself to make a way for somebody else. And you know, it sucks to be the one to tell the story. I wish somebody else could tell the story and say, well, this is what was done, you know, and perhaps in the future that will be the case. But I think a lot of times people don't look at it that way. And it's funny that you say, you know, you guys are not on the show very much, because if you look at anybody who has any adversarial thought about AEW at all, we were on the show for 30 minutes of the 1 hour show. Every single week, it's me and him, you know, talking over coffee for 30 minutes.
It's vanity hour.
Yeah. And you're correct. We are not, I haven't been on the show and gosh, it's been 8 months maybe since we've seen it all. So it is, you know, that is a testament to what we do behind the scenes. It is important to keep pressing on with other people. And, you know, Cody can speak to it from his own perspective.
Well, I mean, just the ticket, I was a talent who was underutilized, really undesirable, and I wanted to become undeniable. I did the work, and somebody took note, and that was Tony Khan, who took note. That was New Japan Pro Wrestling. That was Ring of Honor. That was everyone who used me to the extent that I should have been used and had earned. So when you see that at your own workplace, you can't be one who denies. You can't be one who denies. You got to go out there and let them play their music and take their shot. And we've been able to do that as a company. And Tony's been the great firewall and the great check and balance to it all when it comes to, okay, now it is your turn, actually. You need to step up. Hey, you are a large investment. He's been very good about identifying those moments. Tony's a really wonderful byproduct of the Rhodes to the Top show, seeing the president actually be the president, but lead the way he leads. I think people are going to get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because seeing him, we rarely see him on AEW television. And I think we only get to see him at press conferences, but we know one thing, that he loves professional wrestling. So when we see him, especially on the first episode, is having that conversation with you, and just in the back, I feel like it's going to be a lot of memes going around with him when you're delivering a promo and he's just standing there with his mouth open and really taking it in. You could tell he's a fan and you could tell he's invested. And I think that's just as a fan, AEW, that's what it connects to, because you guys are fans, but also you want to push the business forward. So that's just a kudos and thank you to from a fan to you guys. Brandy, I wanted to ask you, how does it feel to be the first Black executive and a woman in wrestling? And just what does that mean to you when people say that to you, and just the weight that it carries on your shoulders?
It's one of those things that I feel like it's almost a shame that I'm the first one, because we're in when the company started 2019, but we're in 2021 now. So I think that should be something that we don't even have to identify, because it's just already happening in at such a rate that we don't even notice. But I'm glad that, hey, if it had to be me, great. The door's now open. So now that shows everyone the opportunities are there. There is a woman in one of the top roles in a large growing company like this. I can definitely do that too if I want to do that. Whether I'm, a person of color, or whether I'm a woman, or, anything that makes me feel like I have less of a chance. This should, of course, make people feel like they have more of a chance. And I'm a huge advocate for the executive roles when it comes to hiring new people. I'm a big advocate for wrestlers. A lot of wrestlers have degrees. They have other interests and things that they want to learn. I'm a big advocate for anybody who wants to try and wants to apply themselves and really put themselves in an executive position in wrestling. I think it's a great way to grow a career.
I'd agree with all that. And the follow-up question to that is, how important is it to you to come back after the pregnancy, after all these amazing accomplishments as an executive? You guys are killing it on all levels. But how important is it to stand on top of that women's division holding up that title?
Oh, great question.
It's my least favorite question in the world. No, for me, my goals may not be what people think they are. And, my goals, I think, can be mine. But for me, it's always important, and it's always been important to show my daughter that I'm not going to put my passions aside. That I think it's very important to show a woman what a working woman, or another female, what a working woman looks like. I came into a household of a mom that worked. I've only always known my mom to work, and I appreciated all of her hard work and what she did, and I appreciated that she kept her life. So for me, that's wrestling. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about making it back into the ring. Everything that I do, every drill that I do, every push-up that I do, every extra 30 seconds that I have to run, I think about my daughter, because I think that I'm doing this for her. And I'm doing this to show her that it may seem very difficult, but it's doable. And you're a product of your mother. You can do anything that you set your mind to. So it's much more meaningful to me now. Before, it was kind of more of a selfish thing of, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is me. Now it's, this is what I want to do for her. This is what I want to show her.
That's beautiful. My last question before we get out of here would be, we always get, I'm sure you guys get asked, what advice would you give to a up-and-coming pro wrestler quite often? But I would ask you, what advice would you give to someone that wants to get into the wrestling business, behind the scenes, being an executive, being maybe a cameraman or a showrunner, perhaps? What advice would you give to those people out there?
If you were someone who wants to get into our industry, our sport, our field, whatever, it's very important, if you want to get into it in a behind the scenes capacity, that you get into it the same way a wrestler would get into it. We have a lot of people who ask at the Nightmare Factory, they say, hey, I want to be a ring announcer. Can I come? I want to be a ref. Can I come? And we always say the same thing. Absolutely. And take the bumps if you can. And if not, be right there on the ring and, mouth shut, ears open, and just listen and hear, because the best eras of wrestling, and we're in one right now, is when everyone is smart. Everyone, from your camera operator to your commentary to the men and women in the ring to behind the scenes, there is this element of education. This is a field, wrestling, something you have to educate yourself to. And there's actually so many openings behind the scenes for someone who does that. Hey, I want to work with the community outreach team, but I want to do it in a wrestling company. Come learn about wrestling. Let's take the same crash course that anyone in a beginner's camp would. You'll be so far ahead of others who are vying for the job. Because I'll be honest, and this will offend a lot of people who work in wrestling. If you work in wrestling and you've never taken a bump, and you have the balls to tell me what you think, it's instantly tuned out. I don't think anyone making a decision should never have walked in the ring before, should have never gone down the ramp. That's just me. And it's my very passionate opinion, but I've seen it happen in other companies where you tune those people out, just the corporate people alone. I think if you're going to be part of wrestling, learn about wrestling. That's all. End of my rant.
Look, I can't even say any more to that. I took a bump or two, and I completely 1,000% agree with you.
You get it. You just take one.
Yes. I completely get it. That is my time. I really appreciate you too. I love the show. I would definitely check it out and tell everybody to check it out on the 29th, right after Dynamite on Wednesday. Cody, when we get some time again, I would love to talk acting, being a Leslie Connie UCB kid myself. I would love to talk about that sometime and another time. But thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.